The Politics program is brought to you as always by patreon.com/JURY. Do you want to get more of this show? Do you want to get a mini episode of this show every Monday, every Friday? Well, then head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/JURY. Just sign up at the $3 level. Now, it's kind of confusing on there because it says per creation. It's not per everything that I do. It's once a week. You will get charged $3. And if you're on that level, you get a specific RSS feed. You can plug into your podcatcher, your choice, and it comes immediately right to your podcatcher. That's the iTunes app. That's the Google Play app. That's any of these other ones that are out there. You go ahead and enter it in, and it will come right to you. No muss, no fuss. It's literally as easy as copying and pasting a link. So go ahead and try that out if you want bonus stuff. Now, there's other ways that you can support this. Here's another way, absolutely free. Go to freepoliticalnewsletter.com. Get the Politics daily newsletter. It's free. It's political. It's a newsletter. It's the Free Political Newsletter. We have had explosive growth on this. So thank you all for supporting it. If you already signed up for it and you dig it, do me a favor and forward it on to a friend of yours and tell them, hey, you should probably get on this. It's 5 links every morning, some commentary, but mostly gifts. And many of them are from the Chappelle Show. So go ahead and check that out. freepoliticalnewsletter.com. And support the show on Amazon. If you have Amazon Prime, then you've got some money that belongs to me. Well, not really, but kind of. Go ahead and combine your Amazon Prime and your Twitch account and subscribe to my channel. That is twitch.tv/JustinRYoung. If you're not familiar with Twitch, don't worry. This is a great day for you. You will be able to get alerts when I go live. You can listen audio only if you're at work. If you're at a job that allows you to watch video content, then bada bing bang boom. Hang out with me every single day on that channel. That again is twitch.tv/JustinRYoung. Subscribe there and subscribe for free with Twitch Prime. A reminder that if you've already done it in the past, you got to do it each and every month because it doesn't renew. Enough of talking about how I soak all of you for money. What do you say we just do the damn thing?
Politics, 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 politics. Yes. Come on, come on, come on.
What? Welcome. Ho. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Politics program. My name is Justin Robert Young. Lot to talk about. Breaking news just coming into the Politics newsroom here in Oakland, California. Donald Trump has disclosed a payment to Michael Cohen in a financial report. It was released today, Wednesday, May 16th, by the Office of Government Ethics. Mr. Cohen has, of course, admitted, or there is an agreement that we have now seen to pay Stormy Daniels $130,000. This was foreshadowed by Rudy Giuliani, who went out there a couple weeks ago on Sean Hannity and just randomly solicited that Donald Trump had done this. I do think that the fact that this was released through that office means that the wily Rudy was maybe doing things strategically in that particular instance. But I don't really want to talk about that breaking news for right now. Here's what I do want to talk about, and we got a lot to get into. We're going to find out whether or not the horseshoe up Donald Trump's ass has finally fallen out when it comes to his foreign policy. We are going to talk about what the fuck is happening in the Georgia race for governor. And, of course, the pole dance and your emails. But first, I want to talk about Stormy Daniels' lawyer, Michael Avenatti. Michael Avenatti. Now, you might know him. I think the world probably first was introduced to him on, unless you're a devout 24-hour cable news viewer, for which he is a regular staple on all channels. In fact, I don't even think that it's now just cable news. I think that he's going to pop up on Iron Chef. There's in the middle. Someone's going to reach for a squid tentacle, and he's just going to pop up from underneath a pile of squid, which is like squid ink rivulating down his weird bald head. And he's just going to say, why hasn't anybody looked into Cohen's dealing with this Russian plutocrat? And then just recede back into the pile. And everyone's going to be very confused. The dude will take a gigantic bite out of a pepper and we'll move on. Michael Avenatti has taken on a very weird role considering his job, ostensibly, is to look out for the interest of his client, Stormy Daniels. Now, we don't quite understand where Stormy Daniels is politically. We do know that she felt flattered by Donald Trump initially and then felt betrayed by him. It led to her wanting to get some money to talk publicly about their affair. And she initially had a lawyer that was fairly safe. She wanted to be out there. She wanted to, ring the bell a little bit, say, hey, look, I'd like to have these rights to talk. But that was that. She then started working with Michael Avenatti. Michael Avenatti encouraged her to break her non-disclosure agreement and talk publicly. And so she did on 60 Minutes. A 60 Minutes piece in which he was prominently featured. And now Michael Avenatti has taken on a different role. Because if you go ahead and look at this man's Twitter, and do me a favor, when you are looking at his Twitter, please imagine that his head has just popped up from a pile of squid tentacles. Like, that is a terrifying face if it were to emerge from a pile of squid tentacles, right? Like, if all of a sudden you're just trying to cook some kind of a dish and then right there in the face. And he's just yelling at you, time for a poll. Vote as to whether I should stay on television and keep disclosing accurate information to the American public, or B, get off television and stop discussing accurate information. Vote now, vote now, vote now. That would be a little jarring, right? You might be a little bit surprised to see Michael Avenatti pop out of a pile of squid tentacles. However, it has not stopped him from, as he points out, becoming a clearinghouse for information. He has released emails, financial records. He has become an effective political pundit. This is a tweet from 5 hours ago. See below. Weeks ago, I described Mr. Cohen as radioactive. I was right then, and I'm especially right now. The fallout has only begun. He then writes, if we were wrong in our accusation, why hasn't Mr. Cohen released the 18 months worth of bank statements the Squire Long firm conducted in docs and the docs relating to the Qataris? Why is he hiding this info from the public? He has centered all of his fire on Michael Cohen. But this is not exactly all about Stormy Daniels, right? He has even become very, very aggressive when people try to cover him. There was a Daily Caller article that dug into some of his business past, including the fact that when he, by the way, he bought the Tully's Coffee Company. He was the owner of the Tully's Coffee Company, which I didn't know. Tully's Coffee. I see Tully's Coffee all over the place. Apparently, one of his bean sourcers had been unpaid. And so the Daily Caller found this bean sourcer and wrote an article. That was then settled. But it didn't stop Michael Avenatti from writing a nasty email to the author of that piece, in which he said, which is always my favorite, "This is off the record," and then lit into him, which you can't do. Off the record is not a magical incantation. Both sides have to agree that something is off the record for it to be off the record. You can't, it's not like some shit that Doctor Strange can just kind of like cast with his crazy circle magic. At the end of the day, it's bean sorcerer, not a bean sorcerer. That would be a totally, that I think he would hang out in the Sanctum Sanctorum with the Sorcerer Supreme, the bean sorcerer. Please, Wong, find me the bean sorcerer, not the beard sorcerer. I said while I was stroking my beard. Maybe that should be my new branding. Political pundit and beard sorcerer, Justin Robert Young. Take that one for data. Michael Avenatti is a thin-skinned media whore. He is so fluent in the gasping, desperate nature of our modern media landscape that he can, with impunity, distribute information that nobody asks where he got it and nobody asks why it's relevant before he puts it out into the public square. What's more, his entire system, his entire oeuvre, his entire way of being keeps people so looking forward, looking on to the next thing that he has just thrown out there, that nobody has effectively gotten down to the bottom of a very important question. Because Stormy Daniels has said that he is not her lawyer. So who is paying Michael Avenatti? Why has he taken such an aggressive political stance beyond what is just one woman trying to free herself, which she has now broken from an agreement to talk? She has gotten what she's wanted. Which of course means that I believe that Michael Avenatti will be the next president of the United States. Everybody get a round of applause. Get a round of applause. Michael Avenatti will be the next president of the United States. You heard it here first, folks. Look, this is something that I can now exclusively report. In fact, we are debuting a new feature here on the show. It's not just a prediction. It is our first ever New York Times Upshot Memorial, 93% likelihood that Michael Avenatti will be the next president of the United States. We have now updated the graphic. His chance of winning against Donald Trump in 2020 is 93% to 7%. This is an absolute mortal lock. We will see how this plays out, but congratulations to Michael Avenatti. He is the first 93% chance of winning New York Times Upshot Memorial lock of 2020. 7% margin of error. What can go wrong? Michael Avenatti. Now, I'm kind of only half kidding here, by the way. I am only half kidding. Stranger things have happened. And if we've understood one element of all this, is that he who manipulates the media can do many, 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 many things. And there is no doubt that even look, so that thing I read when I was joking about him popping up from a underneath a pile of squid tentacles. This is real. This is something that he tweeted out 24 hours ago. Time for a poll. Vote as to whether I should stay on television and keep disclosing accurate information to the American public, or I should get off television and stop disclosing accurate information. Unsurprisingly, the 497,000 followers of Michael Avenatti have voted for him to keep disclosing information by way of staying on television. And like Trump, he's going to effectively gallop past any questions of who's paying you, which is a relevant question. Sponselli asks, who do you think is paying or supporting him? I don't know. I mean, I would suspect in all questions like this, the answer is usually far less interesting than you might think. I mean, what would be the best possible situations? I'm curious. Go ahead in the chat. What would be the most interesting versions of this? Because I've got two. The first would be the Clintons. Like that would be amazing, right? If this was the next wave of making sure that Donald Trump's life was a living hell, that the target of the last major impeachment investigation and scandal, Bill Clinton, was in some way directing some of the hellfire toward the next great impeachment conversation in American political history, that would be pretty fucking amazing. But not as good as what many people have already pointed out. The best possible place for this money to have come from would be the Russians, right? The best, and God knows even how this Pepe Sylvia conspiracy would work, that the Russians would be paying to try to bring down Donald Trump. But imagine Michael Avenatti, that this became a big enough situation that he had to disclose who his benefactor was. And he had a press conference and everybody had scones, and then they were waiting to see who it is. Then all of a sudden, a hooded figure comes out, reveals himself to be Vladimir Putin. Oh, son of a bitch. You all bought it. Even my immediate family bought it. I am the higher power. Man, I just, for whatever reason, I feel like Michael Avenatti is going to be the next president of the United States. Because nobody else has kind of out-Trumped Trump. He's really good at out-Trumping Trump. But enough talking about future races. Let's talk about races that are currently happening. We began a couple weeks ago. Man, we got nothing but gimmicks these days. We have the New York Times Upshot Memorial 93% lock to beat Donald Trump. That's new. But 2 weeks ago, we introduced a little competition between, or to find the craziest campaign ad of the midterms. Because if there's one thing that you can always count on during the midterms, when big races aren't up, but fringe candidates get more and more attention, is you get some premium content when it comes to crazy-ass ads. And yes, Don Blankenship and his railing against Cocaine Mitch and his China family were a tremendous boon for us. But we began this competition by meeting a man by the name of Jack Kemp. Sorry, no, not Jack Kemp. Brian Kemp. Brian Kemp is running for the governor. He's in the gubernatorial race in Georgia. Georgia is on his mind. And this was the ad that we first fell in love with Brian Kemp.
I'm Brian Kemp. This is Jake, a young man interested in one of my daughters.
Yes, sir.
Jake asked why I was running for governor. I said 1,
Cap government spending.
2,
Take a chainsaw to regulations.
3,
Make Georgia #1 for small business.
and 2 things if you're gonna date one of my daughters.
Respect,
And
a healthy appreciation for the Second Amendment, sir.
we're gonna get along just fine.
Brian Kemp for governor.
Of course, if you did not hear that telltale click, that was Brian Kemp connecting. This, the gun people are going to kill me for this. Connecting his shotgun. It is a shotgun, right? A shotgun, not a rifle. People kept yelling at me for that. Well, Brian Kemp is back. This is his new
I'm Brian
political
Kemp.
ad.
I'm so conservative. I blow up government spending. I don't
Oh, by the way, for those listening who have not seen the Brian Kemp ad before, it was him, connecting a shotgun while it was pointed at a teenager's head. Or really his chest. Sorry, I want to be fair to Brian Kemp. Here is his new ad, though.
so conservative. I blow up government spending. I own guns that no one's taking away. My chainsaw's ready to rip up some regulations. I got a big truck, just in case I need to round up criminal illegals and take them home myself. Yep, I just said that. I'm Brian Kemp. If you want a politically incorrect conservative, that's me.
Let's go ahead and rewind back to that one big moment. Because boy, he's in there. He's in his truck. It's an old Ford F-350. It looks like it's seen some good old hard work out there in the Georgia woodland. Here's the line.
Truck, just in case I need to round up criminal illegals and take them home myself. Yep, I just said that.
One more time, just to appreciate how smug he is.
Yep, I just said that.
So Brian Kemp, how outlandish, how uncouth, how politically incorrect do you have to be to say in a political ad that you have a truck that will round up and deport criminal illegals? How on earth could you possibly get more politically incorrect in this Georgia governor's race than that? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Michael Williams, Kemp's opponent in this election.
Hi, I'm Michael Williams, and boy, do we have some exciting news to you. We have our bus tour ready to go, but it's not going to be one of those pansy political bus tours. We've got the deportation bus.
He brings a truck, you bring a bus. That's our way, the Georgia way. Oh, how small is your dick now, Kemp? Oh, your tiny little shrimp cocktail dick. Michael Williams has a bus. That's so many more criminal illegals that he could deport with his bus, a dedicated bus, not some old withered truck. Fuck you, you tiny dicked piece of shit. Michael Williams is swinging his big fat hog all over the Peach State.
That's right, you heard me. The Michael Williams deportation bus. If you want to find out where we're coming, go to deportationbus.com. We're going to implement my 287G deportation plan that's going to fill this bus with illegals to send them back to where they came from.
Oh my God, this guy. This fucking guy.
We're not just going to track them and watch them roam around our state. We're going to put them on this bus and send them home. Go to deportationbus.com and find out where we're going to be. See you there.
By the way, this is a prison bus. This is a repainted, it looks like a prison bus. It is like the school bus kind of exterior, but it has the graded, fenced on the windows, so you can't jump out of the windows.
If you're as tired as I am with politicians that do nothing but...
By the way, they have now gone to the back of the bus. And on the back of the bus, it says, stay back 1,000 feet. Danger. I'm going to read this verbatim from the back of this motherfucker's bus. Oh, Kemp, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You going to get a bumper sticker? You want a bumper sticker? Here's what big dick Michael Williams has on the back of his deportation bus. Danger. Murderers, rapists, kidnappers, child molesters, and other criminals on board. Below it, it has "Follow me to Mexico" written on it. The size of the dick on this man.
But talk, and you want to see this bus filled with illegals? Vote Michael Williams on May 22nd.
By the way, this primary is next week. All right, well, we are now dedicating this podcast to watching the Republican primary between, in our hearts, Michael Williams and Brian Kemp. The only problem is that either of them will probably win. According to a Survey USA poll conducted between May 10th and May 15th, Casey Cagle is your prohibitive favorite, with Brian Kemp second with 17%. Casey Cagle has 35%. Unfortunately, Michael Williams is polling in the low 3% range. He has polled as high as 7% and as low as 3%. Apparently, his percentages reflecting the size of his dick as measured in feet, because you need a massive, massive peen if you've got a bust like that, right? Dude, you can even just see like how sad Brian Kemp's face is now that he's heard about Michael Williams' bus. Like he's just like, he's grimacing. He's just looking at that gigantic dick, and he's like, oh, man, you know, sometimes the bear gets you, and I'm going to just start calling his dick a bear. Because it looks like it would maul me like that bear in The Revenant did to Leo DiCaprio. So obviously both these guys are going after Trump voters. They want to make sure that they are distinguishing themselves as conservative gets. But I do love the pissing contest. The pissing contest of quién es más conservative, which I shouldn't say that too loud or I'm going to get tossed on that fucking bus. It's just delightful to me. All right. So do me a favor. If you are in Georgia and you have any kind of campaign literature that is being sent out by either Brian Kemp or Michael Williams, then please send it to me. theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. I also want to point out, before I get a bunch of more moderate red teamers flooding into my email about come on, these guys are fringe candidates. They are fringe candidates. The person who's running, let's go ahead. Let's be fair. We are fair on this show. Let's see if we can find a Casey Cagle ad. Here we go. This is Casey Cagle's YouTube channel. Here we go. This is political. This is Casey. I mean, come on. Let's be fair, guys. Come on. Here is the front runner and lieutenant governor of Georgia, Casey Cagle, making his pitch to voters from the Peach State.
Talkers may mean well, but leaders get things done. I'll always stand for our families and our conservative values. While I appreciate the encouragement, results require decisive actions. That's why I led the fight for one of the toughest crackdowns on illegal immigration that outlawed.
Wait. What? Wait, what? What? Hold on. Wait a minute. Let's go back.
Outlawed and defunded sanctuary cities, and I will hold them accountable to help.
Wait a minute. Hold on. So you defunded sanctuary cities. Okay. But what about criminal illegals? Because Kemp has a truck and Williams has a bus. If you're in the lead, then you have a helicopter, maybe a monster truck, cigarette boat, and you're going to take these cruise ship, maybe a cruise ship, dirigible, hot air balloon, something. Let's see. Maybe he says it in the rest of this.
Help law enforcement protect our loved ones from criminal illegal aliens.
Conservative Casey Cagle leads.
I mean, now he's got all of his family on his lap. He's not pointing a gun at any of them. Can you get an aircraft carrier? We need to email Casey Cagle. We got to send an email. We got to send him an email and ask him, all right, look, two of your opponents have increasingly large vehicles that they are going to use to round up criminal illegals. Can you promise right now to the voters of Georgia that you will get a larger vehicle? A C-130 transport, maybe? I mean, what is this guy? I'm running for Georgia's governor, and I'm pro-life. I defunded a sanctuary city. Where's your mining equipment? Tell me you're teaming with the Boring Company to create tunnels that will lead directly back to Mexico, and then a hyperloop that will get them, criminal illegals, from Georgia to Mexico in under 30 minutes. What about a double-decker bus? Casey, you're killing me. You're killing me. You're going to get waxed here. At least run a duck boat. Get a duck boat. It can go on the road or in the water. That's why it's a duck boat. I'm Casey Cagle, and I have an app called Uber that will take illegal criminals away from the state of Georgia. Oh, I need the Georgians. I need the Georgians. Where are my Georgians at? I need you guys to find flyers. I need you to find flyers for Brian Kemp and Michael Williams. I want them to get into a pissing contest so much. We got it. All right, so we're going to email Brian Kemp, and we're going to email Casey Cagle, and we're going to ask them about whether or not they have an answer to a bigger vehicle than Michael Williams' bus. Switching back to national politics for a second, there was breaking news yesterday. I've made the point on this show before that, hate it or love it, Donald Trump has had good luck and showed, dare I say it, uncommon, if unorthodox, leadership on foreign policy. His promise to voters was that America doesn't throw its weight around enough. We are the 800-pound gorilla. We need to stop conceding on every deal. We need to start demanding shit. And so he pushed North Korea. And it seemed, up to and including the fact that there is now a date for a summit in Singapore, that Kim Jong-un's fat ass is getting on an airplane, which is something that does not happen, that there might be peace on the Korean Peninsula. He moved, or announced the move, to relocate the American embassy in Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And after a little bit of protest, there was no new intifada upon the announcement. That seemed to show that maybe this wasn't quite the red line that the Palestinians had made it out to be. Threatened a trade war with China. And it seemed that possibly China has worked in our favor on some of these North Korean negotiations. These are all very, very good news for Donald Trump, whether or not you like him. But if you heard a calamitous clang emanating from the East Coast of the United States, it very well might have been a horseshoe falling out of the president's butthole. Because this week has been, in the words of Rivers Cuomo, or who in Weezer was it in the Buddy Holly video? Not so good, Al. It's not so good, Al. Let's begin with North Korea. Yesterday, they threatened to pull out of the summit because South Korea and the United States had been participating in a military drill. This was not something that really was a surprise The exercise had been going on for a couple days. However, North Korea stated that they believed the exercise was a prelude to an invasion and that they are possibly going to pull out of this summit. The Daily Beast speculates that this was because of some of the words from one of the new National Security Advisor, John Bolton. In an opinion piece by Donald Kirk, it reads, Bolton, talking his usual tough talk, may have prompted North Korea to walk away from the much ballyhooed June summit between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un. Certainly, it led to a clarification. There is no way in hell Kim is going to give up his entire nuclear arsenal and allow inspectors to crawl all over his country before North Korea sees the benefits start to flow, as Bolton proclaimed on ABC over the weekend. In a statement carried by the North Korean news agency, obviously with Kim Jong-un's approval, the first Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, Kim Ki-gwan, feigned something close to heartbreak in hearing such unbridled remarks being recklessly made in the United States, and singled out Bolton in particular. We do not hide our feelings of repugnance toward him, Gwan's statement read. Pyongyang left open the possibility that the summit could still take place. There is no attack on the thin-skinned American president, but if he thinks his administration can continue to brag about squeezing North Korea before he sits down to talk to Kim, he better think again. I would not consider myself an expert on North Korean politics. I am but a simple amateur watching from across the pond. However, in my general understanding of that country, there is a complicated mixture of leadership, as you see in a lot of despotic countries. You have the strongman leader, and then you have the leaders of the military. And oftentimes, they don't usually get along. Usually, the most unpredictable statements and actions come from when the two sides disagree on something. Very oftentimes, this is part of the reason why people die, be they generals or members of the family close to the strongman. So it's not surprising that North Korea has made a statement like this. If you look at the balance of history, it's a surprise that this has not happened up till now. However, it is bad news for Trump. Because if this falls apart, well, then exactly how special is he? Somebody who gets close to peace with North Korea and then has it fall apart, well, that's a lot of presidents. But at least Donald Trump can say to his conservative base, well, I did what everybody else promised and nobody else could do, and that is move that embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. If you're unaware of this, evangelical voters value Israel very heavily. In part, depending on who you talk to, not just because they want to defend a religious democracy, but also because there is a biblical prophecy to the Israelites having their homeland. So, if that's the case, then he will always get credit for that. That is true. Whether or not he gets as much credit as he wants will depend on one very important thing. Whether or not we go to war in the Middle East because of it. Between the relocation of the embassy and the pulling out of the Iran deal, Iran is pretty pissed. Iran is a country that is very pivotal to the discussion of Israel and Palestine. And the day that the embassy was moved, there was tremendous violence on the Israeli-Palestinian border. Depending on who you talk to, it is either yet another humanitarian disaster by the Israeli army, wherein dozens of Palestinian citizens were murdered, or on the Israeli side is yet another example of Hamas, an organization that has been well recorded as bringing terror, violence, and death not only to Israeli citizens, but Palestinian citizens as well, executing what they do best, pushing innocent women and children into the line of fire so they can increase their political position. Whether or not you take one side or the other, for the purposes of our conversation, is irrelevant. Extended violence is the worst thing that Donald Trump could hope for. Donald Trump is unpredictable. Donald Trump is unorthodox. But if he's unorthodox and the world kind of keeps spinning the way it normally does, he wins. Because he proves that we were too conservative in our dealings with these issues before. That, as President Obama said, America is not a cigarette boat, it is an ocean liner. You can only really turn it a few degrees at a time. Donald Trump's proposition is that that's a false construct. We can do whatever the fuck we want. We can do a U-turn on anything that we want immediately. So watch me cancel all these deals that we just signed. Watch me renegotiate all these deals that I think are bad. Watch me grab a third rail that normally would electrocute somebody, but it won't me. I'm Donald Trump. However, if he's unpredictable and he's unorthodox, and what happens is violence, if what happens is more unpredictability, then the previous position is found to be sound. That there's a reason why you walk softly and carry a big stick instead of crumping your way into diplomacy and trying to hit everybody with a baseball bat as hard as you can. I know what you're thinking. No, look at that. Foreign policy segment. How did we go from something as fun as watching these crazy men run for Georgia's governorship and then go right into a self-serious, this is what foreign policy is, kind of monologue? And by the way, just because Don Blankenship isn't running anymore doesn't mean that you can't talk about him. Why don't you talk about Don Blankenship? Well, I will let you know that we will have a Don Blankenship story. In fact, I have a Don Blankenship scoop for you. And we will scoopity poop that scoop in but a few seconds. But before we do that, there is one thing that we do need to do. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is get into the race that Don Blankenship was unable to qualify for. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. With a hat tip to Cardi B, we now take a look into the only way that this podcast handles data science the way that it should. It is the
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
Damn. dance, dance, dance. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a West Virginia Senate poll from WPAI, taken from May 10th to May 10th, with a 400-person sample of likely voters. A 4.9% margin of error. Coming up first to the stage, he is your incumbent. Rather than that, donkey, the most conservative Democrat in the Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Joe Manchin. But with 46% of this poll, we have the man who sunk our Blankenship, the Republican challenger, the man they call Morrissey. That is Morrissey, 46%, Manchin, 44%, a 2-point spread for the Republicans. It is within the margin of error. But if we are ever vigilantly looking out for that wave watch, then it is bad news brown for the Democrats in the Senate that seats like Joe Manchin and Bill Nelson in Florida is up for grabs. That does not bear out well for Democrats to take the Senate if closely contested seats like that are now trending for Republicans. Something to keep an eye on as we peer out over the shore to look for... That's just the wave. But before we get into that, we have to do but your emails. TheYoungAmerican@gmail.com. Again, TheYoungAmerican@gmail.com is where you can write in to this very program. Anya writes, I listen to your podcast and love your show. I feel that the special show you did on political sex scandals was particularly funny. So I thought you might like to look at the general elections in Malaysia if you haven't already. I add editorially, ooh, no, I have not. A few things can match the sheer political drama out here. Basically, it's as if George H.W. Bush decided to run as a Democratic nominee in 2020 to beat Trump and then wins and becomes president all over again. But it also involves sex scandals. A few things that's happened over the years. The current new prime minister, Mahathir, is the father of the modern Malaysian who switched parties from the ruling party to the opposition party for the current election and just won. He was one who was accused opposition party leaders, who was his protege, Anwar Ibrahim, of sodomy, a felony offense in Malaysia, thanks to colonial-era anti-gay laws. A sodomy trial was possibly inspired by the Lewinsky scandal. He was accused of sodomy again. You'd think they would have at least accused him of tax evasion or something, and then imprisoned again. The matter of the Mongolian model's murder by C4 in the forest. Wait, what the fuck? A Mongolian model was murdered by C4? What the fuck? Also, there was a dead opposition activist found on a roof. There's a 1MDB scandal, and TBP found dead, stuffed in a concrete drum. What the fuck is happening in Malaysia? Goddamn. Well, I'll tell you what. Anya, keep writing in, because that is insane. That was wild. And finally, Casey writes, my office just hired the ex-personal executive assistant for Don Blankenship a couple weeks ago. She worked for him for many years, and she likes to tell stories about her old job, most of which I believe. Blankenship likes to flaunt his money for the benefit of the area most of the time. From my understanding, he sounds a bit like a good old boy. She was telling me a couple days ago about how she would take his dictated messages and then follow through with his needs. I'm sure most were normal, but she mentioned a single incident that cracked me up. One morning, she was checking messages that he had left, and one just said, "Get alpacas." For theatrical effect, I will back up and read that sentence one more time. One morning, she was checking messages that he had left, one of which read, "Get alpacas." If you don't know what an alpaca is, it is just the most adorable fuzzy little creature that you ever did see. Please Google it immediately. We continue to read. I'm sure what happened is that he saw a late night infomercial for alpacas and decided that he needed them. When she asked him about it the next morning, he said, "Do you know anything about alpacas?" Of course, she said she didn't. So he replied, "You need to learn about them." Remember, this is a coal company executive assistant having to do research on alpacas for the benefit of starting an alpaca petting zoo for the employees' kids based on a late night infomercial. I need to know whether or not this ever happened. Did the alpaca petting zoo ever happen for the employees of Blankenship's old company? And did he pet these alpacas one last time before he went to jail? Ladies and gentlemen, you can always email me, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Oh, man. Of all the ways that you can support the show, patreon.com/JURY. Sign up for the free political newsletter. That is freepoliticalnewsletter.com. Freepoliticalnewsletter.com. If you like this, you'll like that. Please trust me. You can also combine your Twitch Prime account or your Twitch account with your Amazon Prime account. You could create a Twitch Prime account and you can give me $5 a month for free. It's use it or lose it money here, people. So if you dig the show and you have Amazon Prime, this is the easiest way you can just give me $5 every month. Music has been provided by Valesco and Trop Killers. You can follow me, Justin R. Young, everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and the like. You can also download archived episodes of this show at bonerwars.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that about wraps it up for this version of the show. A reminder, some shows talk about politics, others talk about politics, some still talk about politics, but this is the only motherfucker that talks about all three. See you next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.